Okay, team, we are live. Hey, everyone. Thomas Rowe here, Blueprint to Blue Chip, joined by my co-host, Aaron Charles, and also co-founder or the founder of the Caddy Framework. And we go live tonight at 6 p.m. Mountain Time sharp. Tell us where you're from, joining us in the chat. Tell us what your sport is or was. Also, drop in the chat. Are you a current athlete, recently retired, or a parent or coach watching for someone you know? Tonight's resource is also in the chat. Grab it before we get started. We'll give everyone a few more minutes. We've got Aaron and Dr. Jill Muhay here tonight. So this is going to be exciting. So tonight's downloadable resource, you can see Jill's website at jillmuhay.com. It's JILLMUHE.com. Her Instagram is at beyondthegame.co. Blueprint Foundation is also in the link. You can find Aaron and myself there at blueprintbluechip.com. But let me ask the room something. Think about that day after the last game, or the day you found out your playing career was over, maybe an injury like myself, or the first week of the off season when there was nothing scheduled. Most athletes expect that moment to feel like relief. Finally, time, freedom, something new. And then a few weeks pass. The days have no shape. The work doesn't feel like real work. The team is gone. The schedule disappeared. And you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? I know athletes who have won championships, Super Bowls, NBA championships, Hall of Fame jackets, signed professional contracts, been the best in the room their entire lives, and completely fell apart when the sport has ended. Not because they weren't talented, not because they weren't motivated, because the structure disappeared. And nobody told them how to rebuild it or what to do next. Tonight, Dr. Jill Muhay is going to change how we think about what comes next. Not the generic career advice, not with a list of jobs athletes are good at, with a framework built specifically for how athletes actually perform. Jill holds a PhD and an MBA. Beauty and brains, Jill. Good God, you're cursed. Jill has spent her career working with high performers navigating life beyond sport, and she asks a question most career advisors never think to ask. Jill, welcome. Well, I want to start right here. Thank you so much for taking time to join Aaron and myself to really kind of pull back the onion and give athletes a clear understanding of what's next.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for having me. I'm excited to be here. I just nod my head whenever we talk or we're doing one of these things. So I love it. I'm real excited to be here.
Well, this is great because we're going to get into it, and we're probably going to get into some uncharted waters for some athletes and probably some troubled waters for some athletes. What is the question most athletes ask when sports ends, and why is that the wrong question?
So, when we talk about, or when we think about, life after sport, or what comes next, and kind of everything we're kind of bombarded with, the game's going to end. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What's next? But the big one is that we usually are asking ourselves, because everybody asks, well, what are you going to do? And so then we ask ourselves, well, will I have a job?
Sure.
Type of thing. And so that's the question that's really kind of rattling around in our brains a lot of times. And it's the question that gets fed a lot, okay, go to the career center, and what do your parents do? And when we think about even just our culture in general, when we introduce ourselves, when we meet somebody, even as an older adult, hey, Aaron, I'm Jill. Aaron, what do you do? Like, that job becomes part of our identity. And for so long, we're an athlete, so we just had kind of a built-in thing there. So the question then we have in our head is, well, I'm even going to have a job.
Right.
And Aaron, you can bump that slide there if you want from that standpoint, because I actually think that we are asking the wrong question in our own head, and when we're looking at it from a standpoint of trying to help athletes. I'm a former college volleyball player. I played professionally on the beach for 10 years. I'm a former college coach. I have kind of lived this transition from both the standpoint of myself and then also through my athletes. And this question just sits there, am I even going to have a job? And nowadays too, with the market and the way things are all over the place, it's a valid question. But I think the most important thing to realize is that it's the wrong question, especially when we're trying to figure out what our next step is. So, Aaron, hit the button for me, please. So, the question actually, we are really asking ourselves with not realizing it. The question is where am I actually going to thrive next? Because when we think about the job and the job search and this and that, whether you are a freshman in high school or college or graduating next year, this is really what we're concerned about when we're thinking about what happens next, because we've just spent so much time in an environment that really fit us. It drove
Right.
us. It made it so that we could perform. And so now we're looking at this going, well, am I going to find that again? What does that look like? But instead we ask, well, what job should I get? And so if we don't know what that environment is that we can actually thrive and perform in, then how do we know if we're going to find it, how to
For sure.
find it, type of thing?
Yep.
So, Aaron, the question then actually becomes, what are we actually looking for? And how do we figure that out from that standpoint?
For sure.
So have I completely just disrupted everything at this point in time, at everybody's mindset at this point?
Well, you're bringing some really good points. And something that we talked about earlier was you also push back on follow your passion. I love that. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's the next slide. So we're gonna slide into that right now. But before we do that, one of the biggest things, and this ties definitely into what following our passion or that type of thing like that, is one of the biggest mistakes that I feel that athletes make is that they feel like they're supposed to have all the answers before they graduate.
Sure.
I'm supposed to know exactly what I want to be when I grow up. And if I don't, then I'm behind, or I'm broken, or I'm messed up, or there's something wrong with me, just like you referenced earlier there, Thomas. Um, but the truth of the matter is it's okay not to know. It's okay to not know exactly what we're looking for, as long as we have a plan to figure out what what we should be looking for. And the trap then that we fall into is, drum roll please, Aaron, next slide, is exactly what you just mentioned there, Thomas. How many times have you heard somebody tell you follow your passion,
Right.
or do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life?
Yeah.
I coached volleyball. I love volleyball. I coached volleyball at the collegiate level for 10 years. I'm going to tell you right now that I worked. I loved it, but I worked from that standpoint. Um, and this idea of following your passion, well, if you're going to follow your passion, you have to know what your passion is. And passion will shift and change. When I was a kid, I loved Star Trek. I was a Trekkie. I loved it. Had a little sticker on the back of my car, my first car, Starfleet Academy. Let's go. I mean, I loved it. So follow your passion. Well, I should do something in Star Trek or entertainment or that type of thing. Well, you know, sure, I'll watch it now, but there's no sticker on the back of my car anymore, type of thing like that. And so this idea of following your passion is challenging because A, how do I know what my passion is? And B, oh my God, if I don't know, then I'm not gonna find a job. I'm not gonna be successful. I have to have it all figured out right now. And if I don't, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And now we're just piling stress and stuff onto all of this. And it's unrealistic and it's not necessary from that standpoint. So
For
sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
No, I was gonna say, I was agreeing with you for sure. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I get going. So if anybody's got any questions or anything like that, or just yeah, just I get going because I was just about to say I'm so passionate about this, but that kind of disrails everything I just talked about. But it took me 50 years to figure this out. So, I guess it doesn't. Um, so so a lot of times you'll hear, like I said, you'll hear somebody, well, what are you passionate about when you're talking to an athlete? Or, well, what do you want to do? How am I supposed to know? I don't know. And so the question that I actually ask athletes is, drumroll, Aaron, woo, is what do you feel helps you perform at your best? And then the athlete will look at me and kind of be like, I don't know. And I say, okay, take it back to sport. Let's look at the sport ecosystem that you have lived in, that you have trained in, that you have grown up in. And what type of environment does it give you? And I don't know if this is possible with your guys' format, so please tell me if it's not. But I would love for people to be dropping in the chat in regards to what type of things that sport gives you. Thomas mentioned earlier structure, but like what else is in this environment that's around you that helps you perform at your best? Is that possible? Can we do that? And I don't think I can see it, but if stuff starts dropping in there,
Oh yeah,
if someone can
absolutely. So
let me know what we see.
yep, we've got questions already piling up. I love that you want to turn it into a Q&A. So here's a question. I've been an athlete my whole life. When sport ends, I genuinely don't know who I am without it. How do I figure that out?
Oh, you couldn't have picked a better question, okay, for the transition into this next idea. So here's the thing. The idea behind looking at it, trying to figure out what we want to do in the quote unquote real world and completely separating it out from sport, in my opinion, doesn't help because we have a ton of information about what actually motivates us, what type of environment we need in order to be able to perform our best. And it's all coming in the sport world. So, what we need is we need a translator. And so, when I ask the question, what helps you perform your best? Next slide, Aaron. Here's the crazy thing is athletes answer this question in different ways. There are some athletes, and this led me down a path to go, okay, well, what actually is the athletic mindset? And we talk about the athletic mindset all the time, but can you actually define it? What is it made up of? How do we determine what's going on? And what I came to realize through thousands of conversations with athletes is that there are really kind of four specific drivers and intrinsic motivators that sport tags in all of us. We have the people who are motivated by the mastery of their craft. The people that want, there's the mastery of the craft. I want to be really good at this. We have motivation for the scoreboard. I want to win. I want to know the goals, the results, and I'm most motivated by, when I know what the score is and how the goals are set and how I'm stacking up against everybody. We have people who just I want to be part of a team. I want to elevate my teammates. I work better in a group with people. And then we have the aspect of it that's just like, this looks hard. Let's go try that. I mean, let's go do that. And as an athlete, we have all four of these kind of running around in our head, but and sport gives us the ability to have those things tagged and be motivating for us. But the trick is that there's usually one, sometimes two, that are kind of our primary and our secondary motivators.
Sure.
And if you know what is actually driving you on the inside, if you know what intrinsic motivator is driving you on the inside of what sport is giving you, because let's be honest, it's got to be giving you something.
Right.
Otherwise, you wouldn't keep doing it.
It's true. Joe, we got another question here. My sport gave me I can relate to this. My sport gave me the best relationships of my life. Nothing in my career has come close to that locker room feeling. How do I find that again?
It's a great question, and it's something I feel like every athlete struggles with. And one of the challenges is that most people, unless they were part of that environment, don't understand it.
Sure.
One of the biggest things that sport gives us in the locker room, which is one of the hardest things to replace, is that you had a group of people who, first off, you had shared experiences going on. You had shared challenge, you had shared suffering, and you had people who saw you and you saw others at their most vulnerable and at their rawest. And that environment is incredibly difficult to find outside of sport.
Yep.
And so the challenge becomes, if this is something that is one of your primary motivators, one of those primary intrinsic motivators, how do I find that in another environment? And it's more than likely not going to come from one source.
Right.
We try to look for it in this new ecosystem. The job, the job, the workforce kind of looks like sport. Oh, my boss is my coach.
Right.
Well, maybe. My coworkers are my teammates. Not exactly. Type of thing like that. And so it's the realization of what we're actually looking for. Your question said, gave me some of the closest relationships that I've had. It's diving into it one more level and actually going, okay, what did you actually get from those relationships, so that you can look for that in another place.
Yep. Yep. Good one.
Um
Go ahead. Go ahead if you got more. I mean, the questions keep coming, so we're gonna have some fun tonight.
well, let me do this next. Let's talk about this a little bit, and let's do this next one because it kind of ties into what I've just saying, and then we can bounce into a bunch of different questions.
Perfect.
The trick is once we know what we're looking for, once we know what the environment is that makes us successful, we know what our intrinsic motivators are, just like we talked about with that last question. Now we go exploring. And if we are trying to figure out maybe what our first job is going to be out of college, we want to be exploring, kind of going, okay, this is the type of environment that I'm looking for. And you'll notice that through this entire process, I have not said anything about job or role or industry or anything of that. It's looking for the environment. And if I go, okay, this is the type of environment that I feel like I need to be in. I need to be in an environment where I need to know the score. I need to know, how I stack up. I need to know what the goals are. If I'm making progress, I need to know this. Now I start to ask questions going, okay, what types of things, what types of jobs, what types of things have this type of environment? You know, what what is it, where do I think this environment exists? And then once I do, who do I think is currently working in that type of environment? So let's go ask them questions, right?
Right.
Um, and now when we're talking to somebody, we can ask questions not about so much about, so What's it like being a medical device salesperson? Because we get that a lot, type of thing like that. It's more of, okay, what does a typical day look like? How do you know if you're winning? How do you know if you're progressing? What type of feedback do you get? That type of stuff gives us a much better idea of if that's a role or something that's going to make us aligned. And so we have to do the exploring, which is what everybody tells us to do. Network, talk to people, go figure out your passion. But if we don't actually know what we're looking for, it, it it's not aligned, and it's not helpful. And it's like shooting darts blindfolded and hoping that we hit. Occasionally, yeah, we're gonna hit blind squirrel nut. Absolutely. But a lot of us are gonna miss a lot more often if we don't know exactly what we're looking for.
Sure. Right
So
on. I'm a junior and everyone keeps telling me to focus on my sport right now, but I'm already anxious about what happens afterwards. Is it too early to start thinking about this?
oh my gosh. It's like you guys have the slide deck. Aaron, please go to the next slide. You are not cheating on your sport. Oh my gosh. Please, no, you are not cheating on your sport. And I completely get it. This is very real. Oh, I should be focused on my sport. I should be focused on my team. I should be focused on this. Preparing for your next season beyond sport does not mean that you are less committed to what you are currently doing. You're not cheating on your sport. You're not cheating on your teammates. You're not cheating on your coach. To be honest, if your brain is distracted enough that you've asked the question, my guess is that if you do a little bit of structured and focused and strategized, plan for a little bit of networking, a little bit of this, a little bit of exploration, you're going to quiet that part of your brain. You're going to have that plan in place, which is going to quiet part of your brain, which I actually almost guarantee you will actually probably make you perform better at your sport, because your brain is going to help, that loop is going to be closed. Your mate sleep a little bit better. Your focus might be a little bit better. You're not going to be stressed. You're not going to be as anxious. And I am giving you permission. And if any of your coaches have a problem with it, give them my name. I'll go toe to toe with them. You are not cheating on your sport if you're thinking about this at any point in time.
Awesome.
Great question.
Awesome. Awesome.
Great question.
I took my first job that came along after my career ended because I panicked. 2 years in, I hate it. It pays well, but I feel empty every single day. What should I do?
You this I can't tell you how many times I've heard this.
Yeah.
Word, almost word for word. And I always say this, and I don't know if it really makes anybody feel any better, but I do want to let you know that you're not alone. And again, you're not broken. You didn't misstep. You didn't, it's not wrong to realize, hey, this is misaligned with me. And it might look good from the outside, but if it's not aligned on the inside, what's going to happen is you are going to do what every athlete does, because we do it so well. You are going to continue to do a great job at whatever it is, and you are going to drive because you've got the athlete drive, but you are going to burn yourself out because it is misaligned.
Yep.
And so the challenge then becomes, well, how do I know what I'm looking for? These are the conversations that I have. This is the framework that I've built. I've actually built an assessment that brings it back into the sport ecosystem so that we look at sport to figure out what your intrinsic motivators are. And that becomes the translator to then, okay, if we are actually wired this way, why does what I'm doing right now not feel aligned? This is how we're wired. This is more what we should be looking for. And then we have a structured plan to identify what a better fitting role would be based off of us,
Mhm.
not what somebody thinks we would be good at, not what everybody said I should go into. It's off of really what is actually going on inside us. And now we can find something that we're more aligned with. Doesn't mean you're not going to work hard. Doesn't mean you're not going to have a bad day. Doesn't mean that it's all going to be sunshine, daisies, and roses. But what it will mean is that you're not going to dread getting up in the morning. You're not going to have the Sunday scaries. You're not going to feel just insanely drained by every single interaction that you have in that environment.
Right.
That has to come from learning what we're looking for.
Exactly. 100%. This is a great one. I don't know if this kind of bleeds into imposter syndrome, Jill, but I'd love for you to get into that. I've always been the best in the room athletically. The idea of being a beginner again in a career terrifies me. How do athletes deal with that?
Um, it's a great question. The line that popped into my head is one of my favorite quotes, and I've used it a lot. I wish I knew who said it, to be honest. The internet may have said it, I don't know. But be brave enough to suck at something new.
So true.
And here's the other piece of this puzzle. Think back. You've done it before. You've done it before. You did it when you started sport. You did it when you jumped from JV to varsity in high school. You did it when you went from high school to college. You did it from when you went from practice player to starter. You've done that transition before, and it all worked out. So remembering that and giving yourself credit for those transitions and being comfortable with the idea of I have been here before. I've
Right.
been terrified to start something. I don't know about you all, but when I was a freshman in college, there was one point in time where I was on the phone. We were in the third day of triple days. I'm old. We could do triple days back then. I was sleeping on the couch of two senior captains. I'm a freshman. I'm terrified. And I'm on the phone to my mom and I am just begging her to let me come home. I can't find the spoons, so I can't eat a cereal in the morning. I'm like, please let me come home. And she's like, do you mean to tell me that you want to stop playing volleyball? And I was like, yes. And she's like, I don't believe you. And I was lucky enough to have her give me a little bit of pushback, give me a little bit of a prop up, give me a little bit of like, ask where the spoons are. It's all going to be fine. They're not going to eat you. It's going to be fine. Walk me through a little bit of that. And it turned out okay. I was on the team my freshman year. I ended up, playing volleyball for a long period of time. But there is an element of courage that goes along with that transition. But there's also an element of the fact of you've done it. You've been in that uncomfortable space before and you've grown and you've learned and you got the reps and you got the support and you started to understand what you needed to do in order to be successful.
Yep.
So don't forget that.
No question. Looks like we have a question from a coach. I have athletes who are terrified of life after sport but won't admit it. How do I create a space for that conversation in a locker room culture that pushes through everything?
God, that's a great question. I think one of the things that, and again, it's normalizing talking about this kind of space. It's the idea of, again, when we're looking at the type of intrinsic motivators we have, one of the nice things, like when I do a workshop with a team and that type of stuff, is we now have a common language to talk a little bit about, okay, this is actually what motivates me. This is how I actually communicate. This is, as a coach, now you kind of learn like why one thing lands so well with one athlete and you say the exact same thing to the other athlete, and they think you're crazy, or you're like, oh my god, like it doesn't land the same way because we're processing information and stuff differently. There then becomes a natural tie-in as we're kind of progressing through, when we kind of start to get that reflection and that intrinsic kind of understanding of ourselves. Then we can kind of lead into the fact of going, okay, well, how do we think this could potentially work once you leave sport? And now we've created kind of that safe space to already talk about it in the sporting world. So now they can start to maybe use that same language to articulate how they're actually feeling about the transition.
Right.
The other thing too is, I hate to say it, but I've talked to athletes who couldn't deal with it until they were hit with it. And I I always, I never want that to be the case, but sometimes they get hit with it. And baseball, what do you mean I didn't make, what do you mean I went 450th in the draft? Like, what are we talking about here? Type of stuff like that. But ideally, if we can kind of set that environment ahead of time, then we can kind of ease into that transition. And they also then start to realize that it's okay that I don't know exactly what I want to be when I grow up. It's okay that I don't have a complete plan. And I think that's a lot of it. If you can convince them that it's okay that you don't know exactly what you want to be when you grow up, taking the pressure off then allows them to be able to realize, okay, what am I actually looking for and how am I actually feeling?
Yep. 100%. I'm a Division I athlete and I have literally zero time. Practice, school, film, travel. When am I supposed to do this kind of career exploration?
It's great question. One question I would ask is what sport? Not that any of the sports are, different from that standpoint. The time commitment is enormous. But part of the reason that part of the struggle at the Division I level is that yes, everything is crammed in and your schedule is chaotic. So it becomes strategic. When is there, when is my downtime for my 2 weeks where I can do a tiny little bit here? And how can I do, what if I'm talking to alumni? We've got an alumni event on. How about if I'm networking and kind of talking in regards to, alumni and that type of thing? So when we're actually talking about kind of the networking piece and getting that piece out, it becomes a strategy in regards to tying it around your schedule. The other thing that people think is that this has to be all the time, constantly, and take up this huge portion. No, we can sprinkle it in. We can be strategic about when we do it. If you're talking more about the exploration in regards to, figuring out what we're actually looking for, that's I do that in three. I have a performance clarity package that I do, and I do it in 3 sessions from that standpoint. And it's taking the time, it's setting aside that little bit of time. It's 3 hours total where I can go, okay, I'm gonna give this the focus right now. And you know, the other thing I'll say, the Gen X kid in me will say, like, how much time are you on your phone? Can you spare an hour?
Right.
Chances are there's some sort of hour in there that you could grab and put this as the focus in regards with that.
Right on. Right on. Jill, I'm a Division II football player. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to study, so I got my degree in communication. Does a degree really mean that much when I make my transition out of sport and I graduate?
Fantastic question, and I've gotten this question a lot. One of the biggest things in regards with a degree is having the degree, is
Right.
getting the degree. The example that I always give is my bachelor's is in exercise science.
Okay.
I'm nowhere near an athletic training room anymore. That's, it's just not the way it is. The other one that I'll give is the founder of a company that I worked for, business company, had worked in business for 40 years. He had a biology degree. Now, that being said, there are some specific things that do require a specific degree. If you're going to go to med school,
Right.
obviously there's a path there. If you're going to be a lawyer, there's going to be a path there. Some of us graduate with I want to be I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, fighter pilot, teacher, accountant. Clearly defined steps on how you get there, a clear path. You can Google it and you're going to get step-by-step instructions. Major in this, then do this, then do this, then do this. That path kind of makes sense to us as athletes. Here's the big goal. Goal number 1, goal number 2, goal number 3, a little structure. We like structure. We've clearly established that already. But when we're looking outside of one of those paths, it's kind of a muddled mess. And so what your degree is in is oftentimes not the limiting factor.
Sure.
Unless it falls into one of those very specific types of paths.
Yep. What should a student athlete transition program actually include? We have resources, but I'm not sure we're asking the right questions.
We can do a whole nother talk
right
on that. It's a great question. I'd love to know who asked that question. Do we have a career development person in here that we don't know about yet?
Probably. I mean, they're just
yeah.
I mean, these are just flying through.
I love it. Career development right now is in a state of flux, in my opinion, when it comes to athletes and even just in general, just college in general. The job market itself is in flux and it's shifting and changing, and I say it's like sand beneath our feet right now, and this is the world I live in. I'm still also a straight career coach as well for anybody from that standpoint. So I've lived in this changing job market now for 6.5 years. The challenge with career development is that they are trying to service everybody. They are trying to service everybody. They are trying to service um, the entire student population or the entire athlete population, depending on your resources. And they have some amazing information, and they are really, really good if you come in knowing what you want to do. If you come in going, I want to be like one of those paths I just said,
right.
Career development, career services is amazing because they are going to have great information and great resources and a ton of ways to walk you down that path. Where things get a little murkier is if you're in that kind of like, I have this business degree. What am I supposed to do with it? I have a communications degree. I have a psych degree, but I want to be a psychologist. What do I do with it? And the type of exploration that I'm talking about in regards to looking at the environment requires an understanding of the athletic environment. And that's why I feel it's so important to go to that environment to try to identify the motivators and the environment, that the ecosystem that we thrive the best in, and then translate it to the quote unquote real world. Career development is trying to keep up right now with AI and NIL and all of these different kind of shifting and changing things, and they're underwater.
Yep.
I mean, they're usually understaffed, they're underfunded, and changes need to be made, and there's no pathway for them to make them.
Yep.
Most likely everybody in career development wants to help.
Right.
Can they help, and do they have the tools to? It's not always clear.
Yep. Hey, Jill, I'm studying construction management at Colorado State. I came here to play
Hmm.
football, and I knew that I was not going to get an office job. I'm big on the trades. I want to get. I'm going to focus on becoming a
Yes.
general contractor. I'm talking to my friends, fellow athletes, and telling them that's the next wave. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. I do not believe you are wrong. Here's what I do know is that AI cannot fix my plumbing.
Yeah,
AI cannot fix the electricity in my house. AI cannot build me the roof on top of my house. AI can't fix my car. you know, so everyone is stressing. We've got the whole AI component to it, but I'm a big one for if you have a desire, an inkling, an affinity for a hands-on trade, by all means go and do it. And I love the combination that this athlete is talking about. Whereas I'm going to get the degree, but if you can get the degree and learn the trades,
yep,
the that is a fantastic combination. And doors will open that you can't even see right now at that
yeah,
point in time. So like I said, if you are mechanically inclined, if you like to work with your hands, if a desk job is not for you, and you have a natural understanding about the way things work and or electricity and plumbing and construction and building, I would run with it.
yep, no doubt. This is a good one. Yeah. Joe, I thrive under pressure, deadlines, high stakes, everything on the line. My current job has none of that, and I'm bored out of my skull. Is there
Yep.
something wrong with me, or
No,
do I need to change the environment?
there's nothing wrong with you. um, you've answered your own question, and hopefully you answered your own question by kind of learning about what we're talking here. Yeah, the environment you're currently in is not aligned with the way you are motivated on the inside, and so you were able to do it for a while for a couple of reasons. One, it was new, so that was exciting enough. You could see improvement. You could so that helped from that standpoint. um so that was okay. You're an athlete, so yeah, you're going to get in and you're going to do a good job and you're going to get after it and you're going to drive. But yeah, if it starts to feel routine, if it starts to not be challenging, if it starts to, I no longer know how I'm not getting feedback. I don't know if I'm winning. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm achieving. I don't know if I'm performing. Yeah, you're in a misaligned environment, in my opinion. And so the trick then becomes going, okay, what environment do I need to be in, and what types of roles is that environment? And now when I'm looking at making the jump and I look at a job description or I look at a role that I'm interested in, what am I looking for? So I know that it potentially has the ability to be that environment.
Sure, sure. This one obviously is kind of prompted after
Oh,
the earlier one, and that
Thomas, I can't
is,
hear you. Aaron, can you hear him?
can you guys
Can you
hear
guys
me?
hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. I can hear
I can't
Thomas
hear
and
you
you.
guys. Hold on. Okay, so you guys can hear me?
Yep. Can
Yep.
you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear Aaron?
Can you hear me? Jill?
I've completely lost audio. One sec.
Didn't we just have a glitch, Aaron? With
We did. Mine's kind of glitched and then she came back in.
yeah.
Do you want me to try to take the question while she figures out her audio real quick? We're going to get this back online. If not, we're going to tell you how to get hold of Jill, and we're going to do this again, hopefully, because we've had such great engagement if she'll come back. Do you want
So
me to
you
answer the
guys can hear
question?
me.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Well, I'm bummed because I wanted more questions. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know what makes sense. Aaron, if you want to text message me what you guys would like to do,
Yeah.
that would be fine.
I think what we'll
Um,
probably do, Aaron, why don't we could just wrap it up.
but
'cause we're coming in.
this I'll talk about this slide from like there, this kind of ties a little bit into the one thing in regards to this for those of us who are trying to transition out, your first career decision isn't about finding the perfect job. If anything, I think I've driven this point home. It's about finding out and figuring out and learning what environment that you perform well in, and what the role and what the job is going to give you from an experience standpoint, so that you can continue to learn and grow and perform in that environment. And you will naturally grow and progress and learn and change and shift, and what it looks like in the beginning is going to look differently than what it's going to look like mid-career, which is going to look differently than it's going to look at the end of the career. But when you look back, you're going to see a common thread that runs through it if it's been aligned and it's in that environment that you grow in.
You texting with her? Okay. The host has unmuted your mic. I think just tell Jill, where can is there a QR code for her? Let's just go to that.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. Just that you just flipped over that slide. It's never too late to think about all of this. I know we've got a mix of different athletes, different points in time. It's never too late. It's never too late to look at this and go, okay, am I aligned? Am I performing? Type of stuff like that. So don't ever think that it's too late to do this. Sorry, go ahead. This is really weird, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, team, what we're going to do here is this is a QR code to get in touch with Jill. And there's her website, jillmew.com. Also at jillmew.com as far as her social media. But go ahead and zap in that QR code, and then you could continue any questions that you have towards Jill. We're definitely going to have her on the show again. So if you are thinking about getting into computer programming or coding, this is a perfect example of why to do it. Simply when the bottom falls out, we sometimes have to just shoot from the hip on this one. So, Jill, I know you can't hear us, but thank you so much. And next time we'll be able to do it without a parachute. We'll keep jumping out. Aaron, thank you again for being a magician and making the magic happen. I'm Thomas Rowe. This is Aaron Sarles, my co-founder of Blueprint to Blue Chip. To get a hold of us, reach out to blueprintbluechip.com and go ahead and scan that QR code to reach out to Jill. Thank you so much, team. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time, error-free.